Hey Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. The energy that we're starting off with is, it looks like either you doing something that you can feel you need to kind of be brave to do, or this can be somebody around you that's coming to you that they're going to have to be brave in order to do something. We are starting off with the Three of Swords. So with the Three of Swords, it looks like you're looking into something here that you feel like you need to be seeing maybe a bit more clearly to understand and kind of like break down, maybe unpack something a little bit. There can definitely be healing that's involved in this in general. I'm also seeing Ten of Pentacles. This can be ancestral stuff, like it can be stuff with your family of origin. It can be things that are going on right now that you're taking a look at. I think that this would be the stuff that would be getting in the way of you enjoying things fully. Because Ten of Pentacles is going to be when you really feel that sense of connection and validity there with like all of that stuff that feels important to you, no matter what it may be. And I think Three of Swords can kind of be feeling like a little bit of a thorn at your side right now that's not allowing you to enjoy things. So yeah, you can be looking at that and being like, why is that? Maybe there's some stuff here that you need to look at and maybe disconnect from a little bit. I see something like a broken home or something like that. That's what this is feeling like to me. Or it can be like a broken situation. Like it doesn't technically have to be a home, but maybe it's like somewhere where it's meant to be comforting to you and like a place of solace or something like that. Whether this be like, it's going to be some type of structure that you have within your life is the way that this is looking like to me. And it can be something that you're like, it's supposed to feel like that, but it doesn't feel like that to me. And so I feel like I must do something about this because I don't really feel like it's hitting for me in the way that I need for it to. And I think that I'd be better off, maybe like exploring something else here. But it can also be something that feels hard to leave behind because it's kind of like you work on this like work of art within your life, and then it feels like you didn't even really get a chance to enjoy it, but you're gonna kind of just step away from it because I think you want to be doing something else here. So there's a whole lot of that's going on here. You can be having mixed feelings about things. Some of you, there's a relationship that's involved in this too. I think that there's just like a lot on the emotional front that's being dealt with. There can be things that have not been clarified as well too. Kind of like, I don't even know totally how I feel about the entirety of this situation, but I do know that I don't feel happy with this, and that feels very obvious to me. And so yeah, you can just be dealing with that right now. I'm seeing you be feeling a lot of things, but you can also feel like you kind of lack maybe a deeper insight or clarity as far as this is concerned. I'm seeing this reminding you of something familiar. Like, I see some type of like, I feel disconnected from a time in my life when I felt happy with things. So maybe you had something that's going on that you feel like just not in that place with yourself. Like, that you can be happy with things. I'm getting broken home again. This can be stuff from your past. I get this feeling of like, right now, the way that I'm feeling, I feel a disconnect from like the golden time of my life when I was feeling happy. Like, this can be, I feel a lack of connection, I feel a lack of home, I feel a lack of safety, I feel a lack of maybe like sweetness and joy within my life. Or this can even be like, I remember when this situation was good and it doesn't really feel like that to me anymore, and I feel really sad about that, the way that things have changed, and then I can't really get that feeling back. Six of Cups looking at Five of Cups can be like something going on where there's kind of this like emotional unrest overall that you can be feeling, but that doesn't mean that you don't still feel connected. You can feel connected, but you cannot like the way that the connection feels. Because I even see something going on that was like sweet and salty, and it can be something that you felt like it wasn't really going to come back from that. Like, it just feels like something was too much to be dealing with. Kind of like, I'm gonna have to like break the bone to re-heal it, and it can be something that you didn't want to do in this situation, but you can also feel like you're walking away from the good memories as well, also the bad ones too. So I think overall it can kind of be a mixed bag as far as what you're feeling, but you can be like, this is the only way, this is the only path to healing for me, this is the only correct direction. Because you could feel like if you kind of remain within whatever that is, even though I'm seeing there be certain enjoyable things about it, it feels like the bad outweighs the good. Just sort of, that can be the takeaway from that situation. And so it can be something that you feel it's just too much to kind of try to maintain that, especially for like the little bit of niceness that you get from it. So it can be something overall where you're like, well, you know, it's not a black and white situation. This isn't just like this whole thing sucks and I need to like run away from it. It's kind of more so you looking at something and being like, the scales are really not balanced here, you know, because not every situation is going to be perfect. I think most situations aren't for the most part, but this is kind of like there are things that are outweighing stuff that's going on that outweighs your like ability to feel happy and connected and good about staying within this. And so it can be something where you feel like you have to make this choice, because I think even the good parts, you don't even really get to enjoy them because of the other stuff that's going on right now. So you, even though there's still like nice stuff to enjoy, you don't get to have that experience because of the other things that are outweighing that. And I think taking a look at that, you can just be like, I'm ready to admit this to myself. This really is how I feel. And I think that you're done trying, like I'm seeing you've been trying to correct this and trying to heal it, but it can be like it's too much, like it's not really working. And overall, I think you're looking at this and being like, what is the point of this? Why am I going to keep doing this to myself? Why am I giving myself this experience? Because you know it's a choice, whether you be in this or be away from this. And so I think overall, it's you looking at this and being like, I don't really feel excited about doing this. And I know that there would be good parts of this that I'd be separating myself from, but again, I don't even really get to enjoy those parts of things because of this other stuff that's going on here. And so it can feel like it just feels like it's not really a great idea for you anymore. But that doesn't mean you don't feel sad about it. It doesn't mean you don't feel upset about it. You can be like feeling like you lost something very precious to you. But I think that you're moving in a direction where you're going to kind of like recreate this in a different way for yourself. But overall, this can feel very, very heavy emotionally. And it can be something that you're feeling very sensitive about. And I just see stuff on the emotional front that like hadn't fully been being worked through, but now you can be like kind of trying to move forward and things can be getting a little bit easier. I want to say this again. I'm seeing you had been trying to fix this situation, but that your conclusion can be that it's time to kind of give this up here. And that doesn't mean the whole thing was terrible. I'm definitely not seeing anything like that. I'm seeing actually a lot of parts that you enjoyed, but because of what was going on, you could have felt like you could not enjoy those things anymore. So it was kind of like you weren't even getting really much of any of the experience that you wanted to be having here with this. And I'm seeing you want to go in the direction of like relationships that are feeling more like there's more of a sense of, it can be like connection, teamwork, things that feel more spiritually connected. Kind of like on the same wave is where I'm seeing you want to go towards. So this can be connections that feel really authentic or like charged energetically. And ones that also support your current path and kind of where you are and can kind of like ride that same wave with you there. So that can be something that you can be looking to connect now. So you can be looking to connect with people that you feel like are kind of sharing the same vision or have complementary visions for where it is that you see yourself going. And that this will feel more kind of like forward thinking for you. But I do for sure see quite a transition here that's being made, and you moving to something that feels like there's so much more of an embrace. I see something that when you move in the direction of it, it feels like something just gets like locked in and stabilizes. And that's where you're going. And that can also be what your hope is as well. I feel like we're going to see the death card pop out here. Some of you may not have made this move yet, or you're like kind of on the precipice of doing this. There can be something about a relationship that's making you nervous, but this can also have to do with like choices that you're feeling some anxiety over. I think you can have a lot going on in your mind right now that you feel sort of like preoccupied with, maybe a little bit of overthinking to the point you feel kind of stuck and overstimulated. I think there's also a part of you that's kind of like there's no right choice here within this situation. It can feel like that a little bit, like it's going to be difficult either way, no matter what it is that I do here. But I also see you like trying to be hopeful and maybe faithful to this vision that you have for like the way that your life could be, and that can be something that can be carrying you forward. I get a part of you that's looking for answers that are more than just skin deep here within this situation, but it can feel difficult to kind of do that at the same time, because this is something that's going to pull up different beliefs that you have, ones that may kind of just like programs running on the surface that you sort of have to get below to really understand this process more fully for yourself. Really get down to the basics of this to like strip it back here. Yeah, I think that this hits the part of you that you put your care and you invest in things, and to have invested in something that you probably thought was going to be around for a while, like a longer time than it had been, there can be this part of you that doesn't feel good about letting that go. But you can also be questioning why that is. You know, if something doesn't feel right for you anymore, why are you fighting the energy? And this doesn't feel like a conscious, deliberate thing. It feels like something where you have to do the self-reflection and examine that a little bit. Like, why is this feeling so upsetting for me? Because I think too, like, you may feel like you don't have enough common ground with this situation. And that can be something too, where you're like, well, I gotta honor this, but I wish it was the same, but it's not the same. And you can also be maybe like, for those of you that you have a person involved in this or something representative of that, you know, like it can be a company or something like that. It's like, I wish that we had the same ethos here. We like believed in complementary things, but we just don't, and this isn't working. You know, and you can be like, I didn't want this to be too much. I wanted to be able to do this, but I can't do that. And I have to accept it, but I'm having a really hard time accepting it. But I see something where it's kind of like irreconcilable differences is the way that this is feeling like to me. Like it just feels like there's a tear that like can't really be repaired at this point. And I'm seeing something about like waiting on saying something. So that can be something that's being factored in here too with all of this. I see you don't want to let this go, but you also feel like you don't have another choice. And you can also feel like you're kind of torturing yourself if you don't walk away from this. So that can be something where it just, like, you know that you have to do this for yourself, but I'm getting it be one of those times where it's like you don't really be feeling happy to separate from this, but you can also feel like life is not going to move forward, and you can feel like if you remain within this situation that life stays at some like high stress or high intensity where it just is like, it can be like wrecking your nervous system, or it can be like throwing you off like really badly on the emotional front. It feels like it's doing something that's like really not okay for your system. And so it's kind of like it's like the wind is blowing you really hard, and you could just kind of like ride the wave of where the wind is taking you, or you can resist it and like try to like hang on to the pole as your legs are getting swept out from underneath you because it's like pushing you in another direction. You can like try to fight against it and stay there, but it's like, why would you do that to yourself? So I think that's something that you're looking at here within this situation. And then feeling like maybe that's also not the best way for you to be showing up for yourself and taking care of yourself, and that you want to move to a place where you can kind of get back in touch with things in a way where this doesn't really allow. And I think this situation too, because it feels so intense, you can be trying to find ways to mitigate that intensity, maybe make it a little bit easier for you. And that can also be something where you're like, look at me being in a situation where I can't even breathe the air in this without like needing to have a mask on. And I don't know if you want to be using that mask anymore that you've been using to be able to withstand this sort of thing. It can feel like it kind of goes against what you're feeling is right for you here. This is definitely one of those situations where it's like, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have to. I feel like I need to. But I get kind of like, I wonder if there's a feeling of a bit of a lack of closure here with this. Like having Seven of Cups and having Six of Swords feels like there's stuff that's left kind of unresolved, but I feel like I gotta just pack it up and move. Anyway, kind of like it's just gonna have to be like that. So maybe you feel like you didn't even get time to finish tying your shoe and you need to be like taking a little jog here out of this situation. I'm seeing Aquarius, I'm seeing Gemini, I'm seeing Taurus. Think like the potential of what could have been, and also the way that this situation resonated with you, it makes it a lot more difficult. Because I do definitely see stuff that you liked within it, but I'm also getting to that this is a win for you to step out of it, because this feels like something really difficult to disconnect from. And if you're being honest with yourself, you're not going to stay in this situation. Like, you can only do it if you're not tuned in. That's the only way you can force yourself, because as soon as you tune in, you know that it's a wrap here within this situation. But I do get something still being open-ended. Like, you can feel like you didn't see something through a little bit here with this, and that can leave you feeling a little bit perplexed. I see some kind of like unspoken things. You know the difference between something feeling like it neatly gets wrapped up versus a situation that feels kind of like some stuff a little bit unspoken? Yeah. Overall, just releasing this, it was too hard is what I'm seeing. I see something where it's like craving comfort and familiarity, and maybe something that feels kind of soothing to you, but then having to break into a new energy where I think like you'll be able to kind of like find that again in the rhythm of the new energy. But I think right now can be a time when it's like you want your blankie a little bit and you don't really have that within the energy, and you're sort of forced out of the nest a little bit here. But I think that you're gonna even though you're being pushed out in a way that can feel kind of uncomfortable, at the same time, what you're going to connect with is going to feel more honest and true for you. And I think that will be deeply comforting for you once that's developed. But this is in development right now. So you're at the very beginning. So you're going to adjust and things are going to be okay. But I get it being very uncomfortable right now. Just to like normalize that, because I'm definitely seeing it here. I think too that you had to kind of like shake things off and think about your future and what you want that to look like too, and need to have some perspective here on this. But I do get a very wild time that's coming to an end within your life. Yeah, I definitely get you getting stuck. Let me say this about this situation. I think that because this is not black and white and there's a bit of a lack of like completion, a feeling of completion, there's a lack of that, where something feels like it wasn't like neatly tied up. I think there's this part of you that feels very imaginative about the entire thing. And so you may not know fact versus fiction within this situation. You could be telling yourself some stories about things and how you think they are, or how they could be. And that can be painting part of the narrative. But if you were to experience that further, you would find certain things not to be true. And those are the specific things that can be kind of like keeping you energetically looped into this situation. Meaning, let's say that you think like when this happens and this happens with me and this person, it's gonna look like this. Because you didn't get to explore the extent of certain things, you can be telling yourself it'll be a certain way, thinking that it's gonna be a certain way. And that can have you hooked because it was never like disproved. However, if you got to like play out the dynamic, it would be something else that would be going on. And then you'd be like, oh, like this isn't what I wanted. You know, like one of those types of things. So whatever this situation is, you know, like this can be about a job that you didn't get, something like that, or something that you're leaving where you're like, I was going to step into this position and I never like really got that far and I think I need to leave the company now. Whatever it may be for you, I think that there's something here where you're telling yourself some stories here, and not on purpose. It can just be like, I didn't see these certain things play out, and so in my head those things are still a possibility, but because of having the devil there, it feels like I don't really think that that's actually true. I think that because it can't be disproven, our imagination can kind of run with certain things, and that can be the thing where you're like, well, it could be, you know, that little bit of potential there or chance there, but then if you saw it play out for real, it would be not what you thought. But because it can't be like really disproven as far as how do I put this? If you can align with the deeper truth, it's kind of like you can find the truth out by playing out a situation, or you can find the truth out by tuning into the true frequency of the energy. You don't have to have an experience to know the truth, because the truth is already within you. But it can be easier sometimes when we're not tapped into that place to have to see something play out. You already know how things are going to play out energetically. You already have that wisdom within you. So this can be about kind of dispelling whatever this fantasy is that you're holding on. And when I say fantasy, I mean anything that is not totally accurate and true regarding your perception on this situation. You don't have to play things out to be connected with that. You don't need to have certain experiences in order to see the truth within the energy. We can, and I think it's a really brilliant way for us to learn, but you can still have that wisdom without having to go through those experiences and see things physically play out, because you already know within you. So there can be something like this here that's going on with the energy, but I see something kind of, there's like something going on with the storyline in your head that I think just, you can just be in the process of working it out right now. Because it can feel like it's kind of taken over a little bit. You're making a better plan now, moving forward. Yeah. All right, we're going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting and tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.